transform lives. They are bridges from your current self to your best self. And who better to show you the way to the top than those already there? Welcome to the book I am reading, a weekly sit-down with accomplished Nigerians where we find out what they are currently reading and how that book shapes their worldview. My name is Richard Mofe-Damijo, and I'm your host, and I dare say with the most. There are many parallels between my friend today, Bovi Ugboma, and I, the stand-up comedian. He's from Delta State, like me. He studied theater arts, like me. Bovi is also the convener of the Man on Fire franchise, as well as a writer, producer, and actor, unlike me. So, Bovi, welcome to the book I'm reading now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Quick one before you even tell me about the book you're reading. Are you a child of books or are you a child of television? Or both?
I think I'm a child of both, actually, especially because my mom raised me reading books. I started with Pacesetters, graduated to Hartley Chase. She never used to allow me touch her meals and bones.
She was a librarian.
She was a librarian and a historian by training. Her first degree was history, second was library science.
Oh, good. So what book are you reading now, and by who, and what has that book done for you?
I'm reading a book titled To Sell To Nigerians. The book came out this year and it was written by a parliamentarian, Otumba Akin Alabi. And when I read the book, I was like, okay, because this is my primary constituency. I work in Nigeria, I make content in Nigeria and export to the world. But it's very important when you know your people. So I was like, let me see what he wants to tell me that I don't already know. And I found a whole bunch of things, that he broke down. It's a very easy to read book. So
what are those things you found?
The peculiarity of Nigerians, people, finding what they need. I also found out that the sachetization of certain products like milk didn't apply only to that industry. So he gave examples of other things that have actually been sachetized and they are doing well in the market. So he was like, you have to break certain products down because Nigerians can't afford them in the standard
big,
sizes.
Is this because of dwindling fortunes or governance or
economics?
The
weakness of our naira, the absence of jobs. But the book also talks about, despite the absence of jobs, you just need to look and basically find out what people want, which is what like the Lebanese do in the luxury business in Lagos, the nightlife business of Lagos. So he's like, find what they want, not what you think you want to sell.
Do for them, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So he gave examples of like Apple TV, the box itself failing. He says, while Apple TV has the luxury to fail because their other products did well, you may not have that luxury. So before you jump, make sure you calculate.
What's his background? You said he's a parliamentarian, but
yes.
Is he an economist or is he a PR person? And if being a legislator,
right,
I would like to know what his track records in.
Well,
maybe that's a story for another day.
But it's quite interesting because according to the book, he's an Ibadan boy. He said he was traveling to Lagos for a training in the late 90s, and because he didn't have enough money, he was going to Lagos from Ibadan and going back every day because he didn't have money to lodge. So he was going back to his father's house, and it's not like he was taking luxury transportation, jump bus, drop somewhere,
stop
trek
for a
somewhere. Exactly. Exactly. So he said this guy who publishes Complete Sports is his mentor. I can't pronounce him. Ojegbaise. Say was his mentor.
So he's pretty much my generation. He should be like, what, 59, 60?
No, he's in his 40s.
Oh, Okay.
He's in his 40s.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he was going to Lagos for interviews in the 90s.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Late 90s, early 2000s. He says, so the man taught him how to write a sales letter. And that was the magic. He says, so according to the book, he says, if you learn how to write a sales letter, you will never be poor in your life. And he also gave an example of how the first time he wanted to rent a house, he had like 2 million. It was not going to be, the house was 2 million. He didn't have that amount. He says, so he wrote a sales letter and sold something to people. This was pre-social media era where you will have to print it and distribute, or print it and publish in Reader's Digest or News Digest and stuff like that. And he raised the money for the house. Then he's the founder of betting in Nigeria, online betting. He likes to call it gaming. So he owns Naira Bet.
Oh, so I see the connection now. Oh, right. Yeah. In fact, I just skimmed through, because in trying to prepare for this program, just skimmed through the book. I think it really does have fantastic nuggets, and I see how excited you are talking about the book. Has this in any way impacted on how you tell or is it going to impact on how you're going to be selling your jokes to Nigerians? Because you are in the business of selling.
Right.
Are you going to be practicing any formula of sachetization? That was a mouthful. Right. Oh, and I got it. Oh, God.
Did. Well, there are areas that I feel are very applicable to what I do. And all I need to do is refresh my memory when it's time to do that. Some of the factors he pointed out, the one that stuck out the most for me was that he said Nigerians like the fear factor. So when you are marketing to them, you need to let them know why. And if not, what will happen. The examples don't come to mind now, but basically, it's not a negative way of selling. It's letting them know that, look,
this is the reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then he also specifies how Nigerians love a woof. And he gave a very valid example, like when you want to sell a phone, don't say buy 2 phones and get 1 t-shirt. Let whatever you are giving out be related to the product you are selling. So you can give out free chargers, right? The fear factor is when you want to sell your chargers, you talk about avoid the charger blowing up in your face. Buy original chargers. Nigerians will be like, hey.
Yes, so not true.
So
because charger, they feel blow. For one small, this will cause another accident.
Exactly. Yeah, so he listed out all these points on how you can basically sell in Nigeria and the things you can add. He says Nigerians love a woof. They love free things, so buy 1, get 1 free, or buy 2, get 1 free in every aspect of business you're doing. He also talked about the fact that despite the fact that poverty levels are high here, that there is actually an existing luxury clientele in Nigeria that is huge.
Very huge.
Second highest consumers of champagne in Africa, behind only
you
South Africa.
You and I are part of that group.
We are part but what I find interesting about the guy is that before I read this book, there's a pub I usually go to every Thursday night. He's always there. That's the first place I met him, at the bar. Now, this is a pub where the big boys buy their tables, is filled with a crowd and all. He comes to this bar literally every Thursday and stands by the bar. Himself, sometimes with a friend, and stands by the bar and orders a cocktail. And he's watching everybody and just drinking. Sometimes he's bobbing his head to music. So I'm always like, this is like the richest dude in the building.
That's
but
right.
He's just observing, probably thinking how he's going to get richer, maybe to open his own pub or something like that.
What is it that marks people like him from the rest of us, so to speak? What is it that mark people like him, rich people, intelligent people, innovators, geeky people? What is it? What is that thing? Is it some the things they read? Do you feel that you don't necessarily run with the pack yourself? Are you the guy? Are you that guy in a sense within your own industry? Because you seem to like the idea of his standing by the bar. Are you that guy within the creative
space?
Is that an attraction for you?
It is. For those who have studied my works from stand-up comedy to screen and the skits I shoot, I love the power of opposites. I love it totally. I think it's a strong literary device or artistic device. So in Lagos especially, I learned that some of the richest people are very unassuming. So I learned to now behave myself and learn and watch them. I've also seen so many rich people. Sometimes when I went out with you and you'd be like, look at that guy, look at his watch. It's from his watch you can tell that he has taste. He knows quality. Then I also find out that as a human being, if you are limitless in your approach, the way you think, then it will be hard for the things society has defined in a certain way to box you. I mean, there's time for everything.
I like the word sachetization.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a sign of retrogression on a grand scale, or maybe you should break that down for us?
I think it's the peculiarity of our market, it's the peculiarity of our society. They say many people live on less than $2 a day in Nigeria. Everybody likes milk. Everybody likes the good things of life. So if you can get them, it's from the book I found out that the sachetization of milk is what led to it's after that the sachetization of gin, strong drink,
came into being.
Came into play. That all the Okada men buy. Yes. Even just dirty the eye.
Yeah.
And then banks have sachetized with POS. Who would have thunk that banks will sachetize to that level? I remember when you had to go to the bank to do everything. I remember when you had to go to the bank to pay your fees and join long queues or to receive your salary. I used to follow my mom to go and collect her salary. We'll spend the whole day.
The checks for bank. Reference.
Exactly.
She will probably keep you there. Go do some other things. Say, Bovi, take his number. If they call,
if they line, get to your turn. So the peculiarity of our industry, of our society, is only necessary that we sachetize many things. Oh, and by the way, through the book, I found out that even luxury brands sachetize. So you may not be able to afford the real Gucci products, but that's why Gucci have white t-shirts that they just wrote Gucci across. They are not necessarily cheap, but for who cannot afford the Gucci bags and all, they can just buy that one t-shirt and rock it.
So that is sachetization in a sense. It's just that there are levels to this thing.
There are levels to it. There's rich sachetization.
Yes. If I can buy a Macallan 25, I'll buy 12.
Exactly. and still
feel, or go to a bar where they dispense it for even cheaper.
Yes.
So do you think we read enough in Nigeria, or why don't we read enough now?
I think the coming of the internet, has made even readers lazy. And it's a good thing. It's good in many ways, bad in certain ways. The fact that the internet has just come, any information you're looking for, you can just rummage the internet and you will get it, right? And there's a lot of distraction. And then there's too much content out there now. I grew up in an era where TV used to start by 5 p.m. So there was time to read. There was no social media. There were no phones. Even when there were phones, they were strictly for calls. So I think that has caused a lot of damage to the book reading culture. However, it goes to show that the home front is where a child is actually formed the most, because there are a few homes that I know, including my home, where we still give them books to read before gadgets. So they know that, okay, before we will get to play with these gadgets, they won't have to read one book.
Yes.
Read one book. I know.
That's also, again, a reflection of what your own upbringing is. One of the arguments I also put with friends when I review this is that with technology too, they have brought all kinds of apps. Maybe those apps are not popular enough where the apps can reduce books for you, and then you just put it on as an audio
books,
and then you can read 5 books in one day.
Right.
Even with as tech savvy as my daughter is, this weekend when I was telling her about this show, and she says, "Dad, I still read a minimum of 400 pages every Sunday." Yes, she reads 400 pages every Sunday.
That's
ideally,
like half of the day.
Ideally, 600 pages. She's a fast reader.
Right.
She gave me Children of Blood and Bone, and after the first day, the second day, she was like, "Dad, have you finished?" I'm like, "No." Like, you haven't finished. I said, Nicole, it's like 500 pages. It's like you haven't finished it. And I'm like, "No." Like, she said, "You need to read fast because, so another person wants to read it." Would you write? I mean, seeing how you like books, how come you haven't written a book yet? How to be how to be a lone ranger? Or how not to run with the pack?
I think it's in stages. I think I'm approaching that stage now. I've lost the idea of writing. Is it a memoir? They call it now. Part 1 of my life, but there's so much drama, and I don't know how Nigerians will react, because I don't want to lie when I write.
I spoke to Shoyinka many years ago when I was a young writer in the Concord,
right?
And I was talking to him about Akin Years of Childhood. I was telling her how brilliant the book is and everything. And he agreed. He has a beautiful story on how he wrote Akin. I know. So I can relate when you said so much drama because I then went ahead to say, so when is the years of adulthood coming up? And he said that he doesn't think that he can write that in a long time because he can't lie, and that there are people who probably not be able to deal with a lot of the things that he has to say. So I get.
So is there a way around it?
Yes, there is. You write Ibadan, like he did.
Fictional.
No. Well, not just that. You write certain aspects that you can be true to. You write. You have to set forth at dawn.
Right.
So there will be plenty books of adulthood without one that is like Ake, because you can't pick up Ake and not wish that he can do something like that. So, but there are ways to do it. I will recommend this guy's book to you, Oke Ndibe's book, memoir. To you, it's like something you can't look at America in the eye and turtle stories or something. I've forgotten the real name, but I think it's a beautiful way of doing your memoirs.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll be waiting to read that.
I will
to read that from you. Maybe by the time you're ready, technology will be such that you can sit and in front of a dictaphone and say chapter 1, and you talk through it, and it will be translated into proper. Or you can do disclaimer like the author and say, whatever English I'm writing here,
exactly.
This is not.
It's my
English teacher should not come for me.
License.
Do you think that is a way of probably making writing in these times easier in the days of being politically correct and all that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was very young when I read no, it's not the palm wine drink card. It's what's this book? There's this book where there was a Jamaican character, a Nigerian character called Captain. They were illegal immigrants in the UK.
Don't look at me.
I'm sure you know the book. It was written in broken English. Distorted English, correct English, bad English, everything. It was unique.
Like Sousa Boy, I didn't
read Sousa Boy.
Okay. Who would you recommend this book to that you've read, How to Sell to Nigerians?
Every business owner in Nigeria, every intending business owner in Nigeria, and every Nigerian, more or less, because it's such an easy read. It just hits you. The truth just hits you in the face, and you gain knowledge. Remember the book you gave me in 2005? The 22 Immutable Laws of Branding.
That's right.
You said, Bovi, when you finish this book, it will look like you have a master's degree in branding.
Yes.
And that's what that book did for me. That's what this book has done for me. Now I feel like I have a master's degree in marketing.
Marketing. Oh wow.
Yes.
Wow. I must read. Like I said, I must read it all from the first page to the last. If there's one quote, or if there's one passage that you could read out of the book, what would it be? Did you prepare anything?
What I normally do is when I'm reading a book, if I find something interesting, I'll photograph it and post on my Insta story for my followers that you should check these quotes out. But this book was so fast paced. When I got to page 40, because I was very busy, I said, you know what? I'll keep you first. Then I used 2 days to tidy up everything I wanted to do. Then picked it up on the 3rd day, and from page 50 to 220 something, I didn't drop it again. Now it was so intense, I was forgetting to
click on something.
Especially because I didn't want to be reading and doing my Instagram on the side, checking, because you click them like, oh, let me see what's going on. I didn't want any distraction whatsoever. So it was only one page I managed to say, no, let me copy this. And I think we already talked about it. So should I read?
Go ahead, please.
You can try to force products down the throats of the public, but not all the time. Apple tried to force Apple TV down our throats. We did not fully accept it. I am referring to the physical Apple television and not the digital video streaming service. It was not a total failure, but compared to the iPhone, iPad, and AirPods, it was a resounding disaster. But Apple does not care. They have the money, but do you? You have to be careful who you copy. Before you decide on what you want to sell, you must be sure it is what people want in capital letters, and are asking to buy. I stress this point all the time. Once you can master this, business becomes simpler, and you can make more money than you can spend. After you make this money, you can then experiment with your business fantasies.
Because most of the time we end up running business fantasies, how you want to see the business, not how the business should be running and catering to a particular need.
Absolutely.
What other thing do you like about what you said?
So the chapter that really got me, because I'm a writer in my own rights, right? So it's hard.
I see what you did there. I'm a writer in
my own rights. So it's hard for me to be taken unawares when either reading or watching something. So one of the chapters in the book says Nigerians love stories. So if you want to sell a product to Nigerians, make sure you tie a story to it. Then he starts by talking about how he went for a party. This is like 2005, 2006 in VI, that there were billionaires in this party. The A-list entertainers were there. It was a beautiful one, right? But he was just there. He had just started business and all. He said, and he walks to the bar where the party is happening, chats up a lady, but tells her, oh, he's a magician. She's like, you're a magician? He's like, yes. She's like, okay, show me some magic. He said, and he brings out a 1,000 naira note, takes a pen, does his magic, and the pen goes through the money, and then pulls it out, and the money, there is no hole.
Cool.
He said the next thing, people are like, wow. So the girl calls her friends.
Come and see.
And they come around, and she's like, see what he did. So he's like, sorry, he can't repeat the same magic twice. He said, but don't worry. He talks to the barman, give me a straw. They give him a straw. He puts a thread inside it, cuts the straw in the middle, and somehow the thread doesn't break. He said, now all the girls in the party are coming to him.
Hey.
Then he takes a coin, does his magic from his mouth, shows them it's half a coin, puts it back, brings it out. It's the full coin. He said he took numbers that he was there for a particular girl. So when he said it was by the third magic, that girl came and they exchanged numbers, and she was like, oh, we should see more. He said, well, he will leave that part of the story. But the long and short of it is everything he said,
it's a lie.
Did it happen?
Bovi, I saw this coming now.
I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. Like, I laughed at the joke. I laughed at myself. I was like, what? So basically, it was a chapter that was self-explanatory. That if you bought this story, that's to show you how much of a Nigerian.
I'm going to sell the Niger bridge to you tomorrow.
You, exactly.
Bobby, thank you so much. I mean, we can go on and on, but this just tells us that there is so much you can discover in the world of books. You know, absolutely. So when you dive in there, you don't want to come out. You don't want to come out. Look, Bobby, it's been an amazing discussion, but when we're going to go on a small break,
okay, and
then when we come back, we're going to play a game. Are you up for a game? Are you feeling lucky? This guy wrote the writer of this book wrote the Naira bet, or what's it called?
Right.
So we'll play a game.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop to call and to count on it. One bank.
One Bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
Okay, so Bobby, welcome back.
Thank you.
The book I am reading.
Right.
Now, for the game, I'm going to actually make it easy. So I will give you options for your answers.
Okay.
So question number 1. Old churches across Europe in the 1400s perpetuated the idea that a good spiritual life and the pursuit of money were sworn enemies. True or false?
I would say true.
Well, that statement is actually true.
It's true because of the time.
Yes.
You know.
In fact, they went on to say that on these Gothic windows, like stained windows that in churches across Europe, the depiction of Christ and the moneylenders in Converse rows perpetuated the idea that a good spiritual life and the pursuit of money were sworn enemies. So I think we even saw some of them in some of the drawings in some of those early books,
right?
That we read. Yes, so they were sworn enemies. Money is the root of all evil.
And in Dan Brown's book, I think it was the Da Vinci Code, he delved into the times of Leonardo da Vinci,
yes,
and how they used to be in hiding with their works and all because they were considered vain and all that.
Question number 2. Dash introduced the principle of double entry bookkeeping. A. Leonardo da Vinci. B. Luca Pacioli. And C. Aristotle. I'm trying to do it like
I don't know the guy in the middle.
Okay, Luca Pacioli.
So I will go with Aristotle. Leonardo was more of an artist and a painter
and an inventor.
Aristotle was a philosopher. So
okay, well, the answer is actually the guy you don't know.
Oh man!
In fact, when you start out like, oh yeah, brilliant boy, yeah, he's gonna go with the guy he doesn't know. I mean, Aristotle dealt with philosophy. So what has that got to do with double entry? You know. So he, ironically, Luca Pacioli is a Franciscan friar, you know, who is hailed as the father of modern accounting. He introduced the principle of double entry bookkeeping.
I don't even know what that is. I have no idea.
Well, like they would say, Google it. Google is your best friend.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it was a tough one, understandably, but all the same, I think we've had that. Yes, you've learned. That's the most important thing. We will draw the curtain on this on this note with Bovi, but the show is by no means over, guys. When we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, I love stories. It will be story time. Bovi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop the current account on it. One bank.
One Bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
Okay, story. It's story time. Are you comfortable? Good. Now, every week, we learn something new about banking from The Truth About Banking, a book by Sterling Bank. In the last edition of the History of Banking, we talked about influential banking families, the Bardi and the Peruzzi. Today, let's talk about another banking family, the biggest one, in fact, the Medicis. Yes, the Medicis. The Medici were another bloody rich banking family. The patriarch, Giovanni di Medici, first worked in Rome, managing a bank he co-owned with his nephew Alfredo. But Giovanni was hungry for more, and so he took his share of the bank and left the partnership. With 10,000 gold florins and a new partner, Gentile Baldassare Buoni, Giovanni formed the Medici Bank of Florence in 1397. Gentile will eventually leave the partnership, and Giovanni, determined to avoid following the same path as the Peruzzi and Bardi, invented a new way of running his banks. Each branch was now an entity on its own. So if any branch got into economic difficulties, the overall business was safe because that particular branch will bear the brunt as an independent entity. Then, in 1402, Giovanni Medici decided to enlarge his coast by opening a branch in Venice to put money into profitable opportunities, like woolen cloth for women. The bank invested 3,000 florins in this, which opened the door of the family's venture into the clothing industry. In 1408, business was booming. The Medici Bank began to trade in wool, alum, spices, and many other items. And although Giovanni died 2 decades later, the bank stood on solid ground and soon became the top bank in Europe under the management of his son Cosimo. Between 1435 and 1464, more branches were opened in Geneva, Bruges, London, Avignon, and Milan. But when Cosimo died and the business was handed over to his son Piero, the fortune of the bank took a turn as a result of funds mismanagement and several bad loans. Piero led the bank for 5 years before he died, and the rot deepened under his son Lorenzo, the magnificent Medici. By the time Lorenzo's son Piero di Lorenzo took over, there wasn't much of a bank left, and by the late 1400s, the curtains were drawn on the Medici banking era. However, the legacy of the Medici was transgenerational. It was crucial to the widespread of adoption of letters of credit. Back then, they did not have bullion vans or electronic transfer systems, so security was always a concern. To make life easier and safer for traders, the bank gave them option to keep their florins in the bank branch nearest to their location and get a letter of credit they could present at their destination to get money. Letters of credit were also a way for the bank to make money because exchange rate fluctuations and differences at two separate locations often led to profit at a time when they could not charge interest on loans because of the religious reasons mentioned in previous episode. This was the way until the late 15th century, when the long-held notion that a good spiritual life and the pursuit of money were mutually exclusive was undone by Summa de Arithmetica, a textbook written by Franciscan friar Luca Pacioli. In it, he introduced the principle of double-entry bookkeeping. It became a manual and afterwards standard practice for recording financial transactions. It profiled the idea that money wasn't a divine punishment or reward, but a science that can be learned with patience, reason, and hard work. These new practices evolved into the global adoption of bookkeeping and institutional banking practices that traveled from Europe into Africa, setting the foundation for modern banking into the countries that emerged from the UK and French West African colonies. For this, Luca Pacioli is hailed as the father of modern accounting. So that was an excerpt from the book The Truth About Banking by Sterling Bank. In the next episode, we'll talk about the rise of modern banking. Well, very sadly, it is time to go. And I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from The Famished Road by Ben Okri. This is what you must be like. Grow wherever life puts you down. However down you may feel right now, do not forget that you can always grow. You can always grow. Before we go, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Radio Now Studios, and text TBIR to 0809 6822 595 on WhatsApp to join our book club. My name is Richard Mofe-Damijo, and today I spoke with the irrepressible comedian Bovi Ugboma, who is currently reading How to Sell to Nigerians by Akin Alabi. Who will we be speaking to next? I'll find out on the next episode of the book I am reading.